Yo, chat, how's it going? I'm sorry for not being here exactly what I was supposed to, but I just realized that there is some drama in the VTubing community with one of the major corporations, Nijisanji. And it's like, I had low expectations, but Jesus Christ, you guys managed to. Apparently, like, one of their talent was borderline suicidal, and they kept pushing it, and it's like, this is a company, right? Like this is professional. Wow, wow. I do get like the business strategy that some of these companies are going. It's the idea that there's plenty of depressed women on the internet, so you can replace your talent. But like, come on, just a little bit of concern, a little bit of professionalism, right? I haven't really read everything, so I can't present the news right now regarding that. But it was like the thing that I was being sent right before going live. So, well, I thought it's worth mentioning. There's another thing that I want to mention, right? Like, every single time people talk about Kratos, God of War, right? Kratos. Every single time people talk about him, they automatically have to say about toxic masculinity, right? It's like every single game journalist like has to say the magic word. It's like, say the line, Bart. Toxic masculinity. These people do not know what masculinity is in order to be able to label something as toxic. Like, you would need to go back to kindergarten, learn what masculinity is so that you can then differentiate between the different types of masculinity. For them, toxic masculinity is just masculinity, by the way. But with the thing with Kratos, what about toxic femininity? Like, it is the absolute best game to describe toxic femininity. There is no other video game that has been ever made which can describe toxic femininity better than God of War. Who is the main villain in God of War? Right? Like, I'm talking about the sequel. I'm talking about Ragnarok. The main villain is Freya. Okay? Like, Freya had the son, and she was overprotective of him and imposed her will on him. And even when that son was saying that his entire life is horrible, he is living in agony, she did not care because her will was more important than his feelings. So what does she do? She casts a spell on him in order to make him unable to feel anything, right? So like, he's now immortal, he will never die, but he can't feel anything. So he can't feel pleasure, he can't feel pain, he doesn't feel anything. And this makes Baldur go insane. So Baldur starts the events which end up killing his entire pantheon. But we don't get to talk about that, right? Like, that is never analyzed. We never discuss about that. Like, that is a part of the story that is pushed aside. Let's talk about, like, Kratos. Oh, toxic masculinity, evil. He needs to change. And I just thought that it's interesting in mentioning, right? Like, the idea of an overprotective mother, to the point where you don't really care about what the child wants. Like, it's you don't care, like, if what you're doing, you're hurting him. Like, is the idea that you know better, you understand the situation better than the actual son. That is toxic femininity. I'm sorry, it is. It's the idea that you know better, they're dumb, they don't know anything, so you're going to enforce your will on others. Is the subliminal toxic masculinity? Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, like, that is something normal for parents to want to impose their will on their children. Like, for example, if the parent wants for the child to go to bed at 9 p.m., then you impose your will upon him. You force him to go to bed at 9 p.m. Like, this is normal. It's healthy. But there are certain things when it's about, like, controlling the life of your child even after they matured, and it's the culture of safetyism, the idea that, like, you shouldn't be hurt by anything. Yeah, that's toxic. I'm sorry, it is. Like, life should be dangerous. You should be able to live on the edge if you want to. Rags bad, Dead Space remake woke. Oh my god, do you want me to start? I'm to start. I will explain why Dead Space Remake is woke, right? So they take the original, the classic, which is a video game that's renowned around the world. Like, people in Romania know what Dead Space is. People in Sweden know what Dead Space is. People in Africa know what Dead Space is. It's a classic, right? It's amazing. So you have now the other team, like completely new development team, that is supposed to remake the game by updating its graphics and making it more modern. And what they do is that they look at the first game and they say, no, it was made by a bunch of racist, sexist pigs. And, you know, like, that's fine to think, but, like, the new development team is unable to create anything, right? Like, it's not like they actually made something. No, they're looking at something that's popular, and they're saying, no, it was done wrong, so let us do it properly. And they add a lot of imagery in the video game where they force diversity in. Like, there's, for example, a scientist, right? Like you have, like, the man that's a scientist on the poster, and the remake team replaces him with a black woman that's an amputee. That's one example. They replace bathrooms, and they only have like one bathroom, a unisex bathroom. They change the main character, the female love interest. They age her up. They give her a strong jawline, broad shoulders. They remove the hips, right? So, like, all of these decisions, why did they make them? Why did they make them? Is it to add more immersion into the game? Is it to add anything to the gameplay? Is it to add anything to the atmosphere? No, the reason they made them is because they want to normalize their ideology, right? They want their ideology to be viewed not as something fringe and extremist that comes from California. They want it to be viewed as something normal, natural. It exists everywhere. It's going to exist in the future, right? So they want the gamers who play the game to have like the subliminal message that their ideology isn't a ideology, is the normality, right? Now, if you still disagree that Dead Space is woke, let me put it this way, right? Let me put it this way. What if you had a couple of Nazis that are remaking Dead Space? And as the Nazis are remaking Dead Space, they're adding, you know, all sorts of propaganda about IQ in the posters. They're adding the swastika wherever they can. They're changing the main character and they're removing the love interest altogether. And now it's about, you know, because like they don't believe that women can belong in space. So every single female character is replaced with a male character. The wife of the main character is now like his brother, right? So they're making like all of these changes in order to push their ideology in the game. Would it not be fair to conclude that, yeah, you know, like the remake of Dead Space, yeah, it's kind of Nazi. I mean, it would be accurate to say that, right? If they were to inject their ideology, right? Like, so again, like the Nazis don't believe that women should belong in the workforce. So the wife of the main character would be replaced, and you would have like another guy, and it would be like his brother, or you would have like a younger kid, and it would be like he's looking for his son or whatever, right? That I don't care if you're saying that would be super based or whatever. It would be accurate to label the game as National Socialistic. Like you know who made it, you know why they made it, you know why the changes exist. So you can't just say, oh no, it's like it doesn't affect gameplay or whatever. No, it would be an accurate comparison to say, yeah, the game is racist. Now, whether you want to play a racist game or not, that's up to you, right? Like, some people may like that. It's the same thing with Dead Space being woke. I mean, just because it's woke doesn't mean that it's not a good game, because, like, they took a classic, they took something which is amazing, and they remade it. So, it's kind of hard to fuck up at that point, unless you're Blizzard, and you're making Warcraft 3 refucked. But usually, like, when you take something that's already made that is popular, it's very difficult to fuck it up if you at least follow the same layout. And they did follow the same layout. The levels are pretty much the same, the weapons are the same, right? So, all in all, the game is enjoyable. But I would point out that they managed to fuck up even with the gameplay. The necromorphs, they look less human, so they're less scary. The sound effects were actually better in the original. They were more metallic, more horrifying. Especially some of the screams that the necromorphs were doing was a lot better in the original. This game, you know, it's not bad. But again, like, they managed to fuck it up. Instead of, like, adding new things, they decided to censor, they decided to push their ideology, and when it comes to the horror, they also downsized it for some reason. I don't fucking know why. But yeah, so that's my take on it. It plays so much better than the original. I mean, I played both. I didn't see that much of a difference in gameplay. I only saw a difference in the level of immersion. The original had scarier sound effects, and it also had like scarier looking monsters. The second one, it plays almost the same. I didn't notice like any difference in gameplay and game style. But the sounds being different caused less immersion. They were less metallic. They were less scary. That's my take. So if you had like a different experience, let me know. But yeah. Oh, control-wise. Yeah, I mean, maybe, I don't know. I didn't have, like, problems with the controls for the first one, but I will take your word for it. I may assume that, okay, well, now they improved the controls. That's good. I bet if they made mods to dewoke it, Nexus would take them down. Yeah, this is something else that Rags doesn't account for, right? Like this is the thing that they're saying. It's like, okay, well, woke doesn't exist, right? Like, because they want to normalize wokeness. So they don't want you to have a word for it. It should be normal, right? Like woke and normal should be synonymous. So there is no such thing as woke then, right? It's only like things that are against woke that are problematic. But wokeness is just like the average, the normal. So they want you to believe that woke is normal and it doesn't matter, right? Like, why do you care? Why do you care that there are posters that have like replaced the original ones? Why do you care that you have like pronouns in the video games? Why do you care, right? Like, why do you care? Why do you care? Why do you care? This is why they go. But the moment you remove them, like if you make a mod that people voluntarily install and they do that in the sanctity of their own bedroom, away from prying eyes in private, right? On their own personal computer, Nexus mod freaks out. And they will immediately ban everyone that makes the mod. They will ban everyone that shares the mod. They would look at the people who have the mod with disgust and disdain. So when you're asking me, like, why do you care? I care because you care. And I care because I know why you're doing it. It's not the pronouns in the video game that's the issue. It's not even changing the posters. It's the reason that you're changing these things. That's why I care, right? And you're lying. You're flat out lying. You're saying it's for a modern audience. Like, you are gaslighting the public into believing that this is what the public wants. And when the public says, no, we're going to make a mod, because that's not what we want, and you notice that the mod gets downloaded to infinity, and it breaks your narrative, you have to ban that mod so you can keep gaslighting the public that this is what the public wants. So that's the whole thing. Yeah, what are her organs? Good question. Why do you care, V? How does it affect you? It's just a video game. What are you, a child neuter? What are her organs? Yeah. This is the rallying cry of the woke. This is the mating cry of the woke. Why do you care? How does it affect you? It's just a video game. Hold on. Let me show you one better. Right. This one is my favorite because it literally describes the whole situation to a T. So this is the new video game which came out. It's got like a pretty lady, right? And they're the same fucking people, chat. Usually game journalists, they're the same people, the same publication. They see Astarion naked and it's like, oh yes, Astarion, my beloved. I will draw you in my sexual fantasy. So queer, so hot, so horny. And when they see a female character, porn addict. She is but a child. Look at her face. It is the face of my daughter. Do you have no naughty thoughts about my daughter? You are my enemy now. I hope the FBI will come into your house and arrest you, lock you up, segregate you from normal society because you are abnormal. There is something wrong with you. How can you like this? Normal people do not like this. This is what normal people like, right? Like, literally, gaslighting, trying to make people feel that they are unwelcome just because of their preferences, trying to ostracize people because they want to play a video game. And we saw what happened with the wizard game, right? We saw how they're harassing VTubers. We saw what they're doing. Like, these are unhinged individuals. And the problem is, like, they created a strategy that is so effective that when you try to do backlash against them, you seem ridiculous, right? So, like, when heel versus babyface tries to push back, he seems ridiculous. If I try to push back, they will call me a porn addict, right? They have mastered the way to get the normies to be against anyone that does backlash against them. And that's why it's so effective what they're doing. Starfield has no background story, hence pronouns are okay. The thing with pronouns, okay, like let's talk about the pronouns for a bit. The reason they're adding them into the game is to normalize them, right? Like, they noticed, the activists, I mean, they noticed that when Chase Bank, a bank in England, like, did pronouns, there was a massive backlash. They didn't like that, okay? Like, they don't like it when people are ridiculing and making fun of them. So they want pronouns to be everywhere in order to make it normalized. That's the goal. If you look at the gameplay, the pronouns don't really matter at all. Like, for example, in Baldur's Gate, right? No one uses your pronouns. Like, I actually tried, and I noticed that no character uses the pronoun. Like, they avoid as much as they can. They call you by name. They refer to you as like if you play as Shadowheart, they will call you Shadowheart. They don't say her or him to the player, right? So, like, the pronouns don't mean shit in Baldur's Gate. But they're there in order to do exactly what I said, to get, like, those ESG points, right? The reason they have pronouns is kind of like if you join a Christian community and they ask you, like, do you believe in Jesus? Like, they want you to know if you're one of them or not. If you say you don't believe in Jesus, they will ostracize you, right? Like, you're an atheist. They don't want to do business with you. They don't want to talk with you. They're going to give you the cold shoulder. It's the same with the pronouns. Like, when they ask you, like, what are your pronouns? What they want to see is if you're part of the clique. Like, are you an ally? Are you woke? That's pretty much what they're asking you. It's like, are you woke? And if you say anything else besides the acceptable answer, it's like your pronouns are he, him, she, her. And sometimes you may like say something like I'm non-binary or whatever. But even that would be a problem, and I'll explain why. If you say anything else besides that, if you say my pronouns are attack helicopter, or you're asking them, like, what do you want to know? Like, anything else, you're basically saying, I'm not woke. I'm actually someone that you need to fight. And in a corporate environment, they will ally against you. They will start filing complaints to HR against you. You will notice that when you're in a group with social justice activists, like, you can have, like, one that's a non-binary person. Another social justice activist accidentally misgenders them. They don't care. They don't get upset. But if you do a microaggression towards them, right, and you're not woke, you're not part of the group, and you do a small microaggression, they turn on you, and they act like you did the worst sin ever. That is part of the tactic. When they ask you for your pronouns, right, if you say, like, my pronouns are racismus, you're basically telling them, yes, I'm not woke. So in a corporate environment, if they outnumber you, you're in trouble. Now, if you actually go with, like, the weird pronouns, if you go with zur, her, if you go with, like, I'm non-binary, if you go with anything else besides, like, the acceptable ones, then what you're going to end up, they're still going to fire you. And because now HR knows that you're a troublemaker, right? Like, HR knows that you're a walking, living, breathing lawsuit. Because there is a thing like too radical, you know? It's kind of like if you go in a religious community and you're like, well, I believe in Jesus, and you go to Sunday church and you do everything, right? Like, that's one thing. But if you go into a religious community and you start quoting the Bible at them, and you're quoting Bible verses, and you're casting judgment on everyone, and you're like this fiery brand preacher, they will ostracize you because you're too fanatical. And it's kind of like that with the pronouns. Like, if you go with zur, her, or something like that to corporate, they will flag you as a potential problem. It's like, okay, you know, like it's fine if you're a man and you go with she, her. It's fine if you're a woman and you go with he, him. It's fine if you're either and you go with they, them. Like, those are acceptable. But if you start going zir, her, if you start going with zir, they, okay, like if you do that, that's like, well, that's a walking lawsuit. That's a little bit too educated for us. You know, we like people that are a little bit smart, but not too smart, if you know what I mean. About 2 years ago, they sent an email asking everyone to register their pronouns. Yeah, like if you refuse to do that, if you do not register your pronouns, you get in trouble with HR. That's it. If you tell them that your pronouns are racismus, if you tell them that your pronouns are attack helicopter, if you tell them that your pronouns are my majesty, they will flag you as a potential troublemaker. And they're not fighting you then, right? But like, the moment there are some fightings, like some downsizing at your department, guess whose name is on the list? So, yeah, you need to make sure that you know what your interests are, and you need to make sure that you do not give these people what they want. And what they usually want is to make sure that at their company, everyone that works there is woke. So, it's not about diversity. It's not about, like, skin color. It's just like, are you woke, yes or no? Anyway, right, let's talk about Germany. I love to talk about Germany because there's this article which came out. It's about Germany's foreign policy. And their principles are based on intersectional feminism. So this is the article that I found. It's from the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. Right? So Germany's new foreign policy. And you have like all of these things here. So like, what? Why am I getting spammed? What is Germany's feminist foreign policy? Again, like the whole thing. It's like they can't define what a woman is, right? Like we live in 2023. No left-leaning person can say what a woman is. So what is a feminist policy then, right? Like, is it a policy that benefits women? And the answer is no. The answer is that it's a policy which is against the nation state of Germany, funded by the taxpayer of Germany. And they can't advertise it like that. They can't say that's what it is because it sounds bad. So what they do instead is like they call it feminist so that if you don't like the policy, then you're anti-woman, right? Or you're far right. But as we're going to see, like, this is an extremist policy. This is a policy that at no point throughout human history in various cultures did anyone even consider it, unless your country was like conquered by an empire, right? So like maybe you were some tribe in the Caribbean and the British Empire conquered you and they forced you to have like a policy like that. And it wasn't for your betterment, it was just to destroy your national sovereignty so that the British Empire can have like a better stranglehold on the island and East India Trading Company can do its shit. Right? Like this is what we're talking about. So you're going to see it as I'm reading it. So apparently, they say the thing. It's about gender equality, whatever that means. And again, like the main problem is that they cannot actually articulate what a woman is. Like we live in a world where you can switch genders from one to another. So like if women are being oppressed, all they have to do is to identify as men, and there you go. But anyway, at a basic level, it seeks to address the reality that foreign policy has been the domain of elite men. I like the idea that men only follow the interest of the man, and they're like separate tribes, is a nonsensical concept. It's a Marxist thing. Like they're trying to apply the Marxist class struggle between the proletariat and the bourgeoisie to the sexes. But that's not correct, right? Because every single man is interconnected with women. Like we're meant to be to complete each other. So men have wives, they have mothers, they have daughters. The idea that if a man is in a position of power, he only cares about other men is ridiculous. And it's the same with women, right? Like if you're it can be like a class thing. Like rich people care about rich people more, right? Because they want to preserve their wealth and they don't want like the other classes in society to take away their wealth and power. Like that makes sense, right? Like at least Marxism, at some level, it has like some connection to reality. Obviously, that's not always the case. But if you say that the interests of the elites is to benefit the elites, that is a truer statement than if you say the interest of men is to benefit other men. Right? Anyway, right, so in the eyes of many advocates, however, a feminist approach to foreign policy goes beyond integrating. See, it goes beyond simply integrating women into foreign policy process or adding greater focus on gender equality, but instead is the radical thinking of international engagement. That they actually say that a foreign feminist policy is not about women. Like, they actually say, it's like, oh, we're just claiming this so that we can use it to attack the critics that we're going to have. We're going to use the Bolton Bailey argument. But instead, it's like a radical policy, right? It's radical rethinking. I hate rethinking because usually the stuff that we inherited have been tested and tried for 2,000 years. Like, the idea that you're going to radically reinvent the wheel, you're going to radically reinvent how humanity views things, is a thing of arrogance, is a thing that lacks wisdom, and most importantly, it's audacious. And the thing is, like, when these people fail, and by these people I mean the ideologues and the academics, right? When they have an idea, like, here's the difference between an academic and an actual person that is a valued member to society. A valued member to society is an engineer. Like, you need him in order to make bridges so that shit can get across, right? In order for your food to get to the supermarket, bridges are important. So you need the bridge builder, right? The engineer. If the engineer fucks up and he gives, like, the bad plans and the bridge collapses, the engineer is held responsible. He's going to be buried in lawsuits. He's going to potentially go to prison if someone dies when the bridge collapses, if it can be tied to him. Right? Like, he is directly responsible, and he also fulfills an important job to society. A surgeon does the same. If a surgeon fucks up a surgery and it's all his fault, like, it's proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that it's his fault, he made the mistake, then he can go to prison, he's going to face lawsuits. Same thing, like, he is responsible, like, he is a productive member to society. Like, without surgeons, people die. But the academic, the intelligentsia, this chucklehead, when he says something like, oh, it's going to bring peace if we demilitarize Germany. Like, this is what they actually say. Like, just demilitarize Germany and it's going to cause peace. If it actually doesn't cause peace, they're not held accountable. They're not being held responsible whatsoever. If you have, like, a person on television saying that, oh, there's not going to be inflation, just relax, and people believe him, and they start, you know, making various economic decisions based around the false information, they're not going to be held responsible. The people at Snopes that said that the Hunter Biden laptop story is fake, when it turns out that it wasn't, they're not being held responsible. And this is, like, the difference between the experts and the actual people who are producing in society. Like, if you're not going to be held responsible for your dumb takes, then I don't want to listen to them, because you have no horse in the race. So anyway, right, let's listen to this. What do Germany's new feminist foreign policy guidelines entail? Germany's new foreign policy is apparently in 2014 mirroring Sweden's approach. Germany guidelines focuses on 3 overarching objectives: equal rights for women and girls. I love how it's like not equal rights for citizens. It's equal rights for women and girls. I noticed this to be very interesting, right? Because again, as I said before, like, a man doesn't just care about the interests of other men, because men are interconnected in society. Like, they have wives, they have mothers, they have daughters. Women as well, right? Like, women have husbands, sons, and fathers. But you have the ideologue. The movie Barbie explains this very well. When you have, like, everyone is happy except, like, that one Barbie whose Ken doesn't like her. And the Ken doesn't like her because she's an evil person. She's absolutely mean-spirited. So what does she do? She tries to destroy the entire system. Now, in this case, when you say, like, equality for women and girls, the reason they don't say equality for German citizens is because we actually saw what's happening in the US. In the US, the vast majority of people that went to university were men. So they started making changes. And then you notice that the number of men and women starts to equal out, and they keep making changes, and now there are more women than men who graduate universities. Are they going to say, well, we want equality, so like we need to revert some of the changes to get back to the 50-50? Fuck no. They don't care. They're still going to have affirmative action and stuff for women, right? Like special scholarships and whatnot. Because it's not about equality. Hy-Vee, what about data engineers? Don't we contribute? Well, I mean, yeah, if you actually fuck up your data, I don't know what a data engineer does. But like if you engineer the data wrong, aren't you responsible? Like, can't you get sued if you fuck up what you're supposed to do? What do data engineers do, chat? Does anyone know? To advance these objectives, the guideline highlight 3 main areas: gender mainstreaming, gender budgeting, and internal diversity. You know what this reminds me of? Like when you take an ideology to such an extreme, like the Nazis. A lot of people don't actually know what the Nazis wrote, but like some of the shit that Goebbels wrote and some of the thing that like these Nazis ideologues were writing is batshit crazy, right? So like as World War II continues, they were trying to get like non-German soldiers to join the military because they were getting desperate for men. But the problem was, it's like due to the racist ideology that they were having, it's like, how can you justify that like non-Aryan people get to fight next to Aryan ones? And what the Germans, like, again, like they got their ideologues to figure this shit out. And basically what they figured out is like, okay, well, some of the people in Eastern Europe, at one point they got conquered by certain German tribes. So there is like a little bit of German in them. Like there's not a lot, but there's like a little bit of like genetic material in them, right? So when they fight, the moment that their soldier, that their brothers in arms die, some of that genetic material like gets imprinted, like it reawakens the ancestral belief, right? Like the ancestral spirit. So it reawakens the ancestral spirit of the ones that survive. So basically, like the more they fight, the more German the ones that survive become. And ironically, it's like the racist Pope or some shit. But it's like levels of mysticism mixed with, you know, like some sort of science, because they do talk about genetics and genetics are real. But they were like levels of mysticism and religion mixed with science, and it sounded like batshit insane. And this is exactly how I'm reading this stuff. It's like gender budgeting, mainstreaming gender. Again, it's like transforming this ideology to spiritual levels. And if you use the word gender and you put it next to something, then it makes it better, right? So like gender budgeting is better than just budgeting, right? Gender science is better than just science. It's kind of like this, I guess. Beyond these policies, objectives, the document spell out funding targets for the Federal Foreign Office. Alright, so how does German feminist foreign policy compare to others? Countries have pursued a diversity of strategies under the feminist foreign policy label. And they talk about Sweden and Luxembourg policies. They talk about a feminist diplomacy on the other hand. Yeah, I saw Sweden's feminist policy, right? I saw it. When the Swedish women, they were all ministers, right? They were like the first all-female ministry. And they went to Saudi Arabia. Do you know what they did? They covered up their heads, right? They didn't go... Le Pen from France actually had to meet with a mufti. And she told the mufti that if she has to cover her head, the meeting doesn't take place. Like she said, no, I'm in France. I'm a citizen of France. I'm not a Muslim person. I do not cover my head. I will not allow your religion to be pushed upon me. Like, you can have your religion and you can live your life any way you choose, but you do not get to force others how to live their life. Marie Le Pen, the far-right, evil bigot, right, was more feminist than the entire Swedish government. But the Swedish government calls itself feminist, and again, they're going to this place, oh, in this place, like, you gotta cover up, of course we're going to cover up. So, if you're going to look at the Swedish government for feminist policy, then okay. I know what you mean. if I want to dominate Germany, basically, I just need to change Romania's religion to Islam, and then Germany's foreign feminist policy is just going to bend to our will. That's how you conquer Germany. Like, if the Swedish model is anything to go by, that's what you do. Another point of difference is whether feminist foreign policy focus primarily on gender equality and women's rights, or center on inclusion and diversity more broadly. The Spanish government framework emphasizes the need to tackle gender inequality together with intersecting form of discrimination, including due to ethnic or racial origin. Again, like, everything is intersectional, right? Like, this has nothing to do with women. It's all about destroying the nation state. So how do they want to destroy the nation state? Well, one of the things they want to do is abolish borders. They believe that borders are violence. And ironically, that's what they think, right? So, like, the existence of a border is violence, and anything associated with a border is violent as well. So we're talking about border checks, background checks, detaining people, right? So, like, again, Germany believes that if you have, like, okay, so you have, like, the conflict in the Middle East now, right? You got Israel and Palestine. They believe that if, let's say, a Hamas supporter, not necessarily, well, you know what, even a Hamas terrorist himself, right? If the Hamas terrorist arrives in Germany, then they shouldn't look up to see if he's got, like, an arrest warrant. They shouldn't look up to see if he's, like, an international wanted person. They shouldn't actually see where he is coming from, or what are his beliefs, or what are his systems. No, they should let him in. Anything else besides this is unacceptable. They also do not believe that there should be a cap. They do not believe that there should be a number. So, like, if 500 million people come to Germany, all of them should be allowed in. Like, if the entire Middle East, if every single person in the Middle East wants to go to Germany, everyone should be able to go in. Now my question, and here's what I'm wondering, right? Like, what if, hypothetically speaking, every single person in Israel and every single person in Palestine would want to go to Germany? All of them. Like, literally all of them. Every single one, right? It would be like a desolated area now. Would they bring their conflicts or not? Like, the left-leaning ideology unironically believes that the moment you just went past the border of another nation, you become, how should I even say? You become, like, integrated into their new society, but not really, no. It's difficult to articulate, but they unironically believe, right, that if every single person from Israel and every single person from Palestine went into Germany, they would leave their conflicts at the door. I mean, they don't actually say this, but this is what they're implying. Right? Isn't it bewildering? Isn't it bewildering if you think like that, right? So, like, if every single person that exists outside of Germany goes to Germany, they just leave their grievances. Like, this is probably the solution for the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Just go to Germany. Everyone. Every single one. Yeah, it's kind of like magical soil. I don't even know how to explain it. But this is how, like, they don't have an explanation for it, to be honest. Because I actually talked with people that were like, borders are evil, borders are a scar on the earth, you know, that type of nonsense. And I talked to them and I asked them, it's like, okay, so you think that people outside of the borders, they're all good people. And yes, they unironically, like, do not believe that there can be such a thing like an evil culture, right? They do not believe. I mean, they kind of do, I guess, right? Like, Nazi Germany, they will say that was an evil culture. So, like, historically speaking, they admit that you can have such a thing of a place that is evil due to its culture, right? So, like, if you had a time machine and you had, like, Nazis wanted to go into Germany now, they would probably say no. But other than that, like, they do not believe that a thing like a culture that is barbaric or that is, you know, against human rights, against your values, because at the end of the day, like, that's what evil means, right? Like, you need to have a point of reference, like our European values, and then you have, like, people who are against that. Like, for example, the Aztecs, right? Like, the Aztecs doing human sacrifices, like, you would say that is an evil culture. Why? Because it's, like, completely antithetical to your belief system. It goes against human rights. But anyway, right, so they don't believe that such a culture exists, which is why they're okay with literally everyone coming in. And my question has to be, it's like, okay, but, like, you do have like conflicts around the world, right? Like again, you have Israel and Palestine, and you're saying that if every single one of these people would come in, what would prevent them from continuing the conflict? Like, why would they just stop the conflict when they go in Germany? I think like their explanation has to be that every single conflict is done due to material reasons, right? So like they believe that every single conflict is done due to poverty, and if you actually make people rich, then they stop being into conflict. And that is like another mentally deficient way of viewing the world. Like sure, you know, like sometimes poverty does cause conflicts, but like most conflicts can be caused due to reasons that have nothing to do with wealth. Like for example, you can have conflicts because of religious reason. You can have ethnical tensions. You can have historical grievances. You can have cultural differences. Like the idea that, oh, well, we're just going to give them money so they're going to stop. No. I mean, but most of the terrorists that, especially the ones that hit the news, they were individuals that weren't poor, because that was like one of the things that shocked the left, right? Because like a lot of leftists, I remember in 2016, like they had the illusion that, well, a terrorist is just like someone who has nothing left to live for and is like incredibly poor. No, all of them were educated, right? They were university educated. That they were upper middle class, usually like second generation immigrants. Like they weren't from poor conditions. Like no, like the idea that if you take people and just give them money, they will stop. They will drop their culture. They will drop their grievances. That no, it doesn't work that way. What causes poverty? Usually, poverty is caused by corruption. Like you look at South Africa, right? Or Zimbabwe. You look at Zimbabwe. Most people in Zimbabwe are dirt poor. And then you look at the leaders of Zimbabwe. The leaders of Zimbabwe are richer than European leaders. But they're incredibly wealthy. One of them actually created a Batmobile for his son. One of there's an article called Rich Kids of Zimbabwe. Some of them had like watches that were worth $100,000, and this is like at the time before the inflation, so it's like a $200,000 watch now adjusted for inflation. It's not just crime that causes poverty. I mean, crime does cause poverty, but you can have like a poor village that doesn't have access to water. There are multiple reasons for poverty, right? It's not just one. Crime is definitely one of them. But you usually have corruption. Now, the thing with corruption is that when you have like leaders in power that are corrupt, they want to encourage crime. This is what's happening right now in the United States with the Democrats. Like the madness of passing a bill which says that if you shoplift less than $950, it's a misdemeanor rather than a crime. That's ridiculous. What's the best way to upset a leftist? I found that if you tell them I'll pray for you, it really gets to them. Oh my fucking god, there are so many ways to piss off a leftist. I just... I wouldn't even know where to begin. It depends on the leftist, I guess. Like, some of them are triggered by some things more than others. But yeah, usually, like, if you say stuff like religious stuff to them, like, I'll pray for you, or I'll keep you in my prayers, that pisses them off. The reason is that the leftist wants to be viewed as empathetic and kind, and you need to be viewed irrational. So the moment you are actually hitting him back with a level of empathy that is outside of his realm of ideology, right? Like the idea, I will pray for you. Yeah, it definitely gets them off. And it pisses them off because they can't really report you, right? Like if you're on social media and you misgender someone, that's a TOS violation. So they can say that is harassment. They can say that is, right? So they can get you in trouble. They actually like that shit. They love that shit because now they have power over you. But if you're telling them, I will pray for you, then they can't do anything. They can't report you. Laughing at them, yeah. Blocking them, muting, muting them not so much because they don't know they got muted. But like blocking them definitely works. Here's another thing that I want to talk about. I'll probably make this into a video on my secondary channel, but it's something which I found absolutely fascinating. So, in the new Suicide Squad, the video game, you have like this scene. Oh god. Which apparently is now going viral on Twitter, right? So you have like the scene where Killer Shark, whatever the fuck his name is, he's trying to put on a Green Lantern ring. So why did they do this scene? Well, they did this scene in order to get like the Marvel joke in, right? Because this is like Marvel humor. He's trying to put the ring in, but it doesn't work, right? So like he eventually just puts it on his little finger, right? And it works. Ha ha ha. That is so funny. That is so witty, right? They wanted to get that in, right? Now the problem with it is that it contradicts all the lore. Like there are so many things that are wrong here that like so many reasons why that wouldn't work. First of all, the rings, after the Green Lantern dies, they return to Oa. So he shouldn't be able to have access to the ring. If you do not have the willpower, the ring doesn't work. At no point throughout the entire Suicide Squad game is it displayed that the guy has the willpower to do anything. The ring chooses the wearer, yes. Like even if you have the willpower, you cannot use the ring of another Green Lantern. Like all of these things are about the lore, and they're all thrown out the window in order to make this one joke, right? To make the Marvel joke. And when people are pointing it out, a lot of like social justice activists on Twitter, they're basically saying, "Oh, why do you care? Why do you care?" And it's like, you know what? That's a good point. Why do I care? Why should I play your fucking game? Because at the end of the day, I don't fucking care. I genuinely don't. You know, if I don't care, why should I pay $100 for a game that is like, oh, you're going to pay $100 and you get to play a week earlier, and then the game doesn't fucking work? That is like the best question ever. Why do you care? And the answer to that is, I fucking don't. I will refund your shit. That is the answer that you need to give them. I don't care. I hope you starve. I hope that your studio goes bankrupt. I hope that everyone associated with the project ends up failing because nobody cares. There are some people that created something that no one cares. Absolutely not a single person cares. There is not enough to get involved into the story. There is no reason to actually care about the characters. There is no reason to care about what they do. We definitely do not fucking care. And if you want to sell stuff, you have to get us to care. Like if you want me to spend $50 in order to purchase a t-shirt or to purchase something associated with the product, I have to care at some level. But the reality is, you're absolutely right. I don't fucking care. I don't fucking care. I care enough to make a video and make some views out of it because my fucking video gets more views than people playing your shitty game. But other than that, yeah, no, I don't care. That's the problem. That's why we're complaining. We don't care. And you know what? We want to care about something. We desperately want to care about something because life is hard, things are going to shit, and some entertainment would be appreciated. But the reality is, you're not offering anything. I care. As an Australian with a large dog, it was nice to finally have some representation. It's kind of like, look, a story has to have some lore consistency in order for you to have a fandom and have conversations. Like, if you want to have people discuss who is going to win between Thor and Iron Man, and that discussion generates buzz, it generates traffic, it basically gets your comic book to be trending so that people can buy it. If you want those levels of conversation, you gotta get people to have some lore consistency, because if in one comic, Thor, has certain abilities, but in the others he doesn't and refuses to use them, yeah, people are going to get bewildered by it. Like, for instance, if it's established that Thor's hammer can only be lifted by the worthy, If you see Red Skull lift Thor's hammer with no explanation, then the question begins, like, why do I care? Why should I care? You know, like your comics are literally porn at that point. In the sense that the story of porn is that she orders a pizza and the pizza guy comes in and she doesn't have money to pay for it, so they just have sex, right? And it's like, okay, but is that what comic books are supposed to be? Is that what video games are now supposed to be? Like are we going down to the level of the porn story where, yeah, like literally you don't care, right? Like if you have a person coming in and complaining about the story of porn, and it's like, well, why does the pizza guy, you know, why doesn't he pull out a condom? Why does he not wait for her to go and use her credit card in order to get some money, right? Why did she order a pizza if she didn't know that she doesn't have money? If someone were to ask those questions, they would be told, it's like, shut the fuck up. Who cares? It's porn, right? Like, you're not supposed to care about it. I don't think that is what they're trying to accomplish here. We were there for a while now, V. The Captain Marvel porn has more lore accurate costume than the movie. Oh god, I know. That pissed me off because I'm a Green Lantern fan, and the way they retcon was a spit in the face. I don't even think that they retconned it. That's not a retcon. Like, a retcon is when you're aware of what you're doing. I didn't know that Martin Noddle and Bill was the one that were the creators. But here's the thing. In order to retcon something, it means that you're aware of the original lore and you're changing it to something new, right? So, like, it implies some level of awareness of what you're doing. This is not retcon. This is them genuinely not giving a fuck about the original lore. It's kind of like in Halo, the TV show, where they're basically saying that the actor can remove his helmet, right? Like the reason Halo has a helmet is to add mystery and to make him, like, emotionless and more badass. That's the reason. And they managed to create, like, so many games and so many stories where he has the goddamn helmet on, and yet that fucking model, that 3D model on a screen, has more emotion and it gives you the ability to give a shit about him a lot more than the actor who apparently can't act if he has a helmet on his face. And not only that, but he goes on and he lies, he gaslights to people, saying that it's impossible to do it. As if Darth Vader doesn't exist. But anyway, right, so, as I was saying, the whole thing with this is that they do not care about the source material whatsoever. Like you can tell that the people who wrote the game have no idea what the Green Lantern is. They have no idea what the ring is. And it shows, because, like, when you actually play the game, you notice that they treat Batman with disrespect. They treat all the superheroes with disrespect. The only superheroes they give a shit about is Wonder Woman. And they even go to say, oh, another reason that they don't know the lore. They go to say in the Wonder Woman Wikipedia that a society that was built like the Amazonians would be an amazing society, right? So, like, they say that if everyone structured their countries to be like feminist Themyscira, then it would be great. In the comic books, it shows how Amazonian women get children. So they go out at sea and they go on the boats of sailors, right? So the merchants, they're really happy at first because they see, like, all these beautiful 10 out of 10 waifus that are coming on the ship in order to rape them. I'm not kidding. Like, that's DC Comics. This is the lore, right? Like, this is legitimately what's happening in the Wonder Woman comic. This is how they're having babies, right? So you have, like, all these women from the island, and they're going on to sea, and they're going on merchant ships, and they're having sex with the sailors. And after they're having sex with the sailors, they murder them. So they kill every single sailor, and then they go back to the island, and they're pregnant, and they give birth, and the men, they throw them back at sea. And they keep the women. And you have, like, this person from Suicide Squad saying, yeah, that's a great society, we should emulate that. Fuck is wrong with you, sicko? Well, to be honest, it's not really presented as rape because, like, Like the Amazonian women from DC Comics, they're absolutely smoking hot. But I'm willing to bet like there may be a sailor who has a wife, who has a daughter, and even though she's hot, he doesn't want to be unfaithful, right? So I don't think like the Amazonians would care or have any understanding for that. They would be like, no, you snooze now, and after that you get killed. Yeah, they're kind of like sirens, I think. Like it's kind of like that portrayed, but without like the mystical song and everything. It's just like they are really beautiful women that are warriors and really strong, and they will board your ship, and they will want to have sex. Well, they will force you to have sex with them, and after that, they kill all the sailors, and after that, all the men that are born are being thrown back at sea, and only the women get to stay on the island. Right? So it's that game didn't sell for shit. Oh, it would be nice if it didn't. The sex is consensual, but not the dying part. Again, it's not really explained. Like, I mean, I remember like reading the comic, and all the men were happy, but it's not far-fetched to believe that you may have had like a gay sailor, or you may have had like a sailor that has like a woman at home. You know, like he's married, he's got a daughter, doesn't want to be unfaithful, even if the Amazonian is hot. I never understood like the idea that men can't be raped. It's like, yes, they can. Right? Like the concept that men are just like animals and they have to fuck everything that moves is very disgusting and dehumanizing. I mean, maybe it's true for like a teenager who's got like hormones raging, but like for an actual grown adult, for a man, and I'm not going to lie, like even like myself, right? Like if I had the 10 out of 10 wife now, like one of my succubasu, you know, it comes out of the computer, I would say no because I'm married and I'm faithful. It's like I'm not like an animal to give in to my lusts and urges. Like even if I would want to, even if it would be desirable, I would still say no because at the end of the day, I'm a human being with rational thought, and I'm like, no, I'm married, so no. And the thing is, like, there are many men that think like this. This is not like an outlier. And if that person then forces themselves upon the married man, that's rape. There's no other way to look at it. It's all about power. Oh my god. There is also more ancient about the space alien Halo universe. Yeah. Good thing I'm not married, so coitus with Mommy Morrigan is possible. No, but like, there are many people that think like me. Right? Because otherwise, every single man would be unfaithful. Like when women say, oh, all husbands are unfaithful, that would be true. But it's not. There are husbands that are faithful. I mean, don't get me wrong, the temptation is there and it's different, right? But like, you can't just say no. Like, you can't just be like, I made a vow, and therefore. It would be very few men that felt that way. I don't know. I mean, I don't think so. Again, otherwise, when women say all men are unfaithful, they would be right. They would be correct. Anyway, right. I will end it here. But like, hold on. Think, just a minute. Just a minute. Let's say you're married and you have a child, right? And you're at a party and this, like, colleague of yours is hitting on you. Even if she is hot, like you as a man, if you're genuinely a man and not a boy, right? You're not a teenager, you're an actual man. I mean, you're going to think, okay, well, I'm risking my entire marriage. I can risk never seeing my child again. I risk losing like 10 years of marriage. And for what? For like a one-night stand? I mean, if you're a man and you're like thinking logically, right? You're not an emotionless, you're not a creature driven only by emotion. And you're able to think logically, you would realize that it's not worth it. Like, why would you have an affair that's for one night and risk all of the other things, right? Because, like, if your marriage is gone, you lose your house, you lose your kids, and everything. You're basically trying to say that, no, like, no man thinks like me. No, I think most men do think like me. I think like the outlier is the people that cheat. What married person goes to a party? Oh my god, like the corporate environment, you can't afford not to go to a party. Like in most of the corporate environments, you are required to go to a party. Otherwise, you get in trouble with HR. Yeah, look, there's people in the chat. I'm married with children. I'm not screwing up my relationship for some pussy. See, I don't think that I was like the outlier here. I think like most men are able to understand what I'm saying. Anyway, right. I will end it here. I'm going to go make the video for my second